It's so wonderful to breathe all together, and the silence is very delicious. In our retreat, we have to allow ourselves to slow down. This is going to be a challenge for a lot of us. If we truly want to slow down, we have to set some practices and boundaries for ourselves. If we want to treat ourselves, we can have a little break from our smartphones, if that is possible. I'm just inviting, because a retreat like this is a very unique experience, so that we can collectively practice. One of the power of a retreat in our tradition is that we practice together. We believe in the collective energy of mindfulness, that our mind and body is always affected by the environment that is around us. And if we have a good opportunity to be in a community, to be in an environment that can help us slow down, to help us come back to ourselves, we have to learn to also open ourselves to enjoy and to be part of the collective energy. Such as when we all listen to the sound of the 3 bells, and we all collectively become aware of our mindful breath. Everyone is individually doing it, but as a collective, you can feel this space and this silence. And if we open ourselves to it, we can also allow that silence of the collective practice to support our own practice. I really believe in collective energy and in the power of community. We may have the intention, but our own capacity is not yet strong enough. But when we see other practitioners that are also doing it, they can mirror and they can encourage us. You may see someone else practicing breathing mindfully, and you're like, oh, I should do that too. Now we have apps, right, that help us in our phones, but here we don't need apps. We have living apps that are all around and that can collectively remind each other. And this is also the wisdom that our teacher had when he created a practice center, that we all can support each other on our path of cultivating mindfulness, cultivating peace, cultivating compassion, cultivating wisdom. Let us speak a little bit about mindfulness. What is that? What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the capacity for us to be aware of what is happening in the here and now. We all have the seed of awareness in us. But here we want to highlight and intensify, to cultivate the awareness of our breath, our steps, our daily actions. Particularly in this retreat, we're going to have schedules where we will sit all together to cultivate inner silence, inner peace. Our breathing becomes the object of our mindfulness. Mindfulness is to be mindful of something. So when we are sitting, right now you're listening to me, you're mindful of listening to a Dharma talk or to an orientation. So there is always an object. And our mind has been trained to think a lot. and to think towards the future, think towards the past, think about projects, because it always wants to grasp onto something. But here we want to give our thinking also a chance of resting. And so we bring our mind to the attention of breathing. Whenever you sit in our retreat, you're invited first to find a posture that is supportive for our sitting. Sitting in our tradition is not a chore. We're not sitting to attain something. We're sitting just to sit. It sounds simple, but it's a real practice. To sit and do nothing. Now that is advanced practice. Even for myself, a lot of the time I have to encourage myself, sit and do nothing, brother. Just sit there and just be one with your breath. Be one with yourself. And what we learn is that body and mind support each other. So a posture in sitting is very important. We have a chance to sit every morning together for 30 minutes. So when we arrive into the meditation hall, the practice already begins. When you enter into the hall, we ask everyone to be aware of our steps and to slow our steps down, because our intention to sit is to arrive. So if you're running to arrive, that looks very funny. The intention is really not supporting our destination. So if we come to the hall, we will always hear activity bells to remind us of the next activity. Normally it is 15 minutes before every activity that we hear a bell. That is to invite us to come to the activity. So we want to give ourselves enough time to arrive, so that we don't have to run towards the activity. And then when we come to the hall, we enter into a space of practice. So just be aware of the steps that you take in this hall. Allow the ease and the peace to already be present in your step. And then when you sit down, become aware of your posture. We have many styles of sitting meditations, of posture, and I would like to give the time to demonstrate. We all will, if we choose to sit on the ground, on a cushion and a mat, we sit on half of the cushion. So we have an angle that for our knees to touch the mat, the ground. So we're going to establish like a tripod. We have 3 points that are touching the ground, our buttocks on our 2 knees. The first I feel would be most comfortable and the easiest we call it the chrysanthemum posture. So you just place one leg in front of the other, and already you have 3 points of contact: your buttocks and then your 2 knees firmly on the ground. Some of us are very tall, so we may need 2 cushions in order to have space for our legs to have enough length to be on the ground. And if we are a little bit more advanced, some of us maybe are yogis or yoga practitioners, so we can become more flexible. You can try the half lotus, which is one leg on the thigh here and rested. Or if there's even one step easier, is to place it on the crease of our 2 legs and still rested. And then half lotus is like this. And then this is full lotus. These posture is to support our sitting to be upright but relaxed. So when we sit, we always encourage us to be upright, but that doesn't mean to be rigid. We have to learn to also just relax the posture. You can be straight, but there is a relaxation in the posture. And what is very important, if we are new to this practice, in the sitting meditation, if we ever feel pain or we ever get numb in our legs, please undo your legs. Don't suffer for the next 20 or 15 minutes. You can mindfully undo your legs during the sitting and still maintain the energy of stillness. And we allow our legs to, for the circulation of the blood. And when everything is back to ease in our body, we just come back to the sitting posture. And if sitting cross-legged is hard, we can always sit the Japanese style. It's we sit between the cushion and like kneeling. And this is also very comfortable. And it may be much more less of a stress on our legs. And of course, we can always sit on the chair also for the meditation. But in the sitting on the chair, to also have 2 feet firmly on the ground. And also if we can support our back to be upright, we can even put a cushion and then just to help our body a little bit upright. Because if we are too relaxed, we're going to sleep. We're going to sleep through the meditation. And sleeping is not bad. Maybe our body really needs it because we're so tired. And sometimes if you are so sleepy, just open your eyes and just recognize that you're tired. Don't feel bad that you are falling asleep in meditation. It's just your body finally has a chance to rest. It's like, wow, he's allowing me to be still. And the body is just mirroring what it needs. And a confession, through my whole novice time, I fell asleep in almost every meditation. Because it's a training, right? Because you also need to get used to the posture, get used to the practice. It's almost like when you first practice tennis or table tennis or volleyball or any exercise, your muscles need time to learn. So the same with meditation, you need to learn to be still. It sounds funny, but we have to relearn again how to sit and do nothing. A lot of our meditations, I believe we will have a guided, and so it can help us in the focus of our practice. Will we have any silent sitting, dear brother Phap?
Yes.
Yes, we will.
3 times.
We will have at least 2 sessions of silent meditation. So we want to invite you to see yourself, see your mind. But our anchor, our foundation for our practice is mindful breathing. I would like to share the first exercise on mindful breathing. And this practice comes from the Buddha time. You can find this sutra from the Buddha. It's on the 16 exercises of mindful breathing. And our teacher used to explain to us when he first found the sutra and his practice, he felt like the happiest person on earth. He felt like he found treasure. Something that you can do every day and you can cultivate the awareness of breath to a very high level, that your mindfulness can always be with you. And he has practiced mindful breathing into the last moment of his life. You know, I was with Thai when Thai had the stroke, or Thai means teacher in Vietnamese, so we call our teacher Thai. And Thai was in a coma for almost 6 months. And one of the shock that all of the nurses had was that Thai's oxygen level and breathing was always so stable. And one time I said, how is this man 88 years old breathing better than a healthy young man? But because they didn't know that he was a Zen monk that has been practicing mindful breathing for a very, very long time. And so a group of us attended who had the chance to take care of him through this journey. We had a joke and it became our slogan for Thai. We said, oh, you know, he's the best breather in the world. And it shows that even the practice, if you cultivate it enough, it becomes a companion. Your mindful breathing becomes a habit, a wonderful habit that will still be with you even in your most difficult moment. And I can really see the breathing, even when Thai was in a coma, that there was attention, there was such an energy of just mindfulness. But this is someone who has cultivated the practice of mindful breathing for a very long time. But Thai was a human, and we were all human, so we can all cultivate this practice. So the first awareness of mindful breathing is just to become attentive and aware that this is in-breath and this is out-breath. And the beauty of this exercise is you don't have to just be sitting to say that I am practicing mindful breathing. In the retreat, whenever we hear the sound of the bell, or we hear the chime of the clock in the dining hall at every quarter of an hour, it is a tradition in Plum Village that we all are invited to stop. You don't freeze, but you stop. You stop and you become relaxed in your body, and you just bring your attention to your breath. These bells, these chimes of the clock, they're all invitation for us to just be aware of our in-breath and our out-breath. And what is happening when we practice that is also we are giving ourselves a chance to stop running after our thinking or whatever we are doing. It's a moment to wake up and say, I am alive, and I want to be aware that I am alive. So our breath, we are going to train it to become our companion, our friend. It is the closest friend that you will have with you in your whole journey. Because the moment it is time for us to go, it is time for us to say goodbye. The last action we will do is to breathe out. So let us identify and become a friend with our in-breath and out-breath. That is the first exercise, to identify the breath. The second exercise is to develop a concentration with our breathing. Our mindfulness can be present, but it may not last very long. Because we have other habits. Okay, I'm aware of you, what is the next thing to do? And we run after the next, and the next. So here, we want to have concentration. So we will follow our breathing from the beginning to the end. As we breathe in, you may feel your abdomen rising, and as you breathe out, you can feel your abdomen falling. And you really give yourself this practice. Breathing in, I feel my abdomen rising. Breathing out, feel my abdomen fall. In and out. Let us all practice this together. We become aware of the breath, and then we stay with the breath from the beginning to the end. We take refuge in the in-breath, and we take refuge in the out-breath. In the concentration of our breath, it allows us to touch this stillness that we can cultivate inside of us. Stillness gives us a chance to reflect. We are allowed to think. Buddhism doesn't say we're not allowed to think, but our thinking can be productive or it cannot be productive. And so we can be aware of what we are thinking of, and to give us the attention to not overthink. And a lot of us, we overthink. And therefore we lose a lot of energy, and we let ourselves be carried away by our thinking, and it becomes a habit. Our teacher calls our mind sometimes the non-stop thinking radio station. And we learn to identify which channels are loud in our mind, and we learn to tune it, and we tune it with our breathing. So when we have concentration, it also gives us a chance to learn to be still. And being still is also an element to learn to heal. We need to heal our body. Today, we all experience a lot of tension, a lot of stress. And we find ways to ease our pain. And sometimes to ease our pain is just learning to be still and allowing the body to rest. Our body has wisdom. It knows how to rest. But because our habit of doing is so strong, we don't listen to our body, and we don't allow ourselves to rest. So mindfulness is also learning to see what we need, and to have the courage to allow ourselves to just be still. And that leads us to the third exercise, is coming to the awareness of body. Breathing in, I am aware I have a body. Breathing out, I smile to my body. It's a very simple practice, but this practice gives us the insight that we are alive. We have a body. It is a gift, and we have to learn to take care of our body. Learn to feel our body more. If our body is not healthy, we will not be able to realize our deepest aspiration. And that's why in our practice, body and mind support each other. We don't only develop our mind without developing our body. And we don't develop our body without developing the mind. For us, we see the interconnectedness of the two supporting each other. So when we sit, it's also recognizing our body. We may feel tension in our shoulders, tension in our neck, maybe in our jaw, maybe in our hands, our fingers, being so active on the device. I feel it a lot of times I have to just massage my hand. And all of these little tension are signs that it needs a little TLC, tender love and care. And so we can allow ourselves to bring attention to these tension in our body. And sometimes in the sitting, you can just scan your body with a ray of mindfulness. And wherever there is tension, you can put your hand on that body part and just be aware of the tension. And you can give it the love. I tore my ACL playing football. You see we have a soccer pitch here. We get pretty intense when we play soccer here or football. And sometimes we forget our mindfulness and we get very competitive. Most of our injuries are from sports in the monastery. And when I tore my ACL, I was so impatient with the healing. And my mind was always saying, get better leg. And I was trying to do everything I can to get back on the field. And luckily I had a very good therapist that said, I'm sorry brother, but I'm going to be the monk now. Learn to listen to your body. Learn to give yourself the time to heal. Every time there is pain, bring the attention of mindfulness and give it the care it needs. Does it need a stretch? Does it need some massage for the blood to come? Or does it need just to do nothing? And here, our body is also our teacher. It tells us what it needs. And sometimes just to come home and to give attention to the different organs and express gratitude. Our heart is working day and night for us to pump blood. And if you are mindful of your heart, you may have some insight. I need to take care of you better. I need to rest more, not stay up late too much. I need to intake more mindfully, consume more mindfully, so that I can support my body. So just the awareness of mindfulness of body can already give us insight on how our state of our body is. We should have that capacity to identify where there is tension in our body. So in this retreat, we can do this from time to time. It doesn't have to be just in the sitting meditation. You know, nature can heal a lot. We can just sit under a tree, stand in the forest, and just be aware of our body. Allow the sound of the bird, allow the sound of the leaves from the wind, and allow ourselves to just be embraced by Mother Earth. This is a gift that that is present, but you have to give it to yourself. I cannot make you practice, I can only invite you to practice. So in our practice here, we also don't only practice in the meditation hall. Plum Village practice is engaged practice, applied practice. We do it mindfulness in daily life. We have a chance to enjoy eating together. Breakfast we will enjoy to eat in silence. And the silence is inviting us to really just be present for the food. Eat the food and not eat our thought, not eat our project. There's a trick. When you take a spoonful of oatmeal and you put it in your mouth, put the spoon down, put the fork down, and enjoy the chewing. Normally, our habit was the next. Here's my next spoon. We're already preparing ourselves for the future. So to help us slow down a little bit, we can create some habits that can be supportive. So every time you take a spoonful of rice, of soup or so, put the spoon, put the fork, put the chopstick down, and allow yourself to just chew. Identify, this is muesli, this is oat, this is rice, this is carrot. It takes less than a second, but you are aware of what you are eating. And when you eat, you allow yourself to chew. Give yourself time. Here, I like to challenge all of us. We're always encouraged in our training to chew for at least 30 times before swallowing. And there's two habits. One is learning to just enjoy the eating. Allow ourselves to just enjoy the chewing and to really feel the taste that the carrot has. The carrot is like an ambassador from the whole cosmos that have come together. And here it's going to nourish us. So if you give it a little time, you also nourish our gratitude. You may see the monks and the nuns or some of our practitioners before eating. We always give a little bit of time to just connect to the gratitude. Just be grateful that we have food in front of us. And knowing that there are always friends and people in the world, children, who don't have enough to eat. And so just the awareness that I have something to eat, your food will taste better already. And when we eat in silence like this, we also are nourishing not just body, but we also nourish our mindfulness. And then we nourish the community around us. The practice of eating is also very healing. Because if we learn to nourish our body, then we're also learning to nourish others around us. And when we practice together, it's also an energy of reminding to not to rush. We try not to attain anything in our practice. We enjoy the present moment, this insight. Dwelling happily in the here and now. As the Buddha has said that the past has already gone, the future is not yet there. There's only one moment for us to truly be alive, and that is the here and now. And the here and now is the fruit of the past. And the here and now is what will create the future. So the best way to take care of the future is in the present. And the best way to heal the past is also in the present moment. Because the present moment that we are living is creating a new past. We're always creating moments of the past in every second, every minute, every hour. Every day is a gift. We have gathas in Zen. Gathas are like poems. And this poem, all of us, we have to learn when we enter into the training of becoming a monk or a nun. When we wake up, we have to smile. Waking up this morning, I smile. That's the first practice. Just to know that I have 24 brand new hours in front of me. That is a gift. Smile to that gift. We have recently lost our teacher, and so that was a big wake-up bell for a lot of us, knowing that life and death is a part of the world, is a part of just being alive. And we cannot bargain with death. Sometimes death comes very unexpectedly. And so we all learn that the 24 hours that we have is a true gift, and it's up to us how we want to live the 24 hours. So the third line in the Gatha is, I vow to live deeply. I vow to learn to live deeply this present moment. And this is an ongoing training. I'm still training this. After 20 years as a monk, I'm still having to tell myself, this is a happy moment. Even there is suffering around, there is crisis, we have to take care of it, but you still can identify the beauty and the goodness in this present moment. And learn to live deeply this moment, and to look at all beings with the eyes of compassion. This is to enter into the realm of mind a little bit. We may have a lot of suffering, and it may be caused by others outside of us. But in the practice of Buddhism, is learning to also expand our love, expand our capacity to embrace. And if we understand suffering, we will have more compassion. The other who make us suffer is because they also suffer. And suddenly with that insight, you have some compassion towards that person. You can see that their action is because they suffer. And you learn to take care of the suffering, the emotions that are in you. And you bring the love and the compassion inside of you, and you can generate that and you can offer that to others, even the ones that make us suffer. Because we can protect our own love, and we can protect our own mind. So this, our sister will talk more about it tomorrow, but I just wanted to give an appetizer. And the fourth exercise of mindful breathing is identifying the body as the third, smiling to the body, and the fourth is to release the tension. We have to learn to release the tension in our body. We will have total relaxation in our schedule, and that's a very good practice. You don't have to do anything. A brother or sister will guide you through the body parts, and we will learn to just release the tension in our body. And if you need to sleep, you can sleep. If you need to snore, that will happen. Because our body can be very tired, and here it is a retreat, is to treat our body also. And you know, these practices, when you start to make it a habit, you can bring it anywhere. I had the chance to travel a lot with my teacher on tours. We would go to the US, we would go to Asia, we would go to Europe, different countries in Europe, and we would be in very hectic environment, such as the train station at the airport, and there's a lot of tension, and there's a lot of anxiety. But you can be the island of peace for yourself. And everywhere our teacher walked, he only had one style, and that is mindful walking. And every step that he took was really a step of peace, a step of stillness. And I was very fortunate. I was walking behind him, so I get to bathe his peace and his silence. But this energy of practice that we learn to cultivate here, we can bring it anywhere. And don't think mindfulness is slow. It's because we have the habit of being fast, so we need to tune ourselves down a little bit to be more attentive to our action. But we can be very fast when it is needed. There was a time we were traveling to Italy, and we had to transfer flights at one of the airports. And we were a delegation of 20-something monastic with our teacher. Because everywhere Tai went, he wants to bring a community. Because he believes in the practice of community. He doesn't think himself is enough to help everyone practice. You need other experienced practitioners to help carry the practice. And we heard in the announcement, flight something has transferred gates, have changed gate, and everyone on that flight, please make your way quick as soon as possible to that gate. And that was all of us. And our teacher looked, we have to run. And 30-something, 20-something, 30-something monastic, we were sprinting across the airport. It must have been quite a scene because robes and luggage and flying all over the place. But we were aware that we needed to be there in time because, or else we make the whole flight delay. So mindfulness is to tell us what we need to do and what we shouldn't do. And at that time, we needed to be fast, so running was possible. But we choose, if we can, to be more in the state of peace and ease, because we have enough tension in daily life. We will have practices of mindful walking, and before the session of mindful walking tomorrow, one of our monastics will explain about the practice in detail. But what I would like to encourage all of us is if we identify that we're brushing while we are walking in Plum Village, say, here I don't need to walk that fast. Allow yourself to walk more slowly. In walking meditation, if you can, try walking bare feet. We're in nature to feel the ground, feel the grass, feel the earth. You will be more attentive of your steps. Walking meditation is as important as sitting meditation. It is like the two wings of our practice in Plum Village. Because these two practices you can bring anywhere. We have our dear elder sister coming back today, back to Plum Village, Sister Jang Kong. She will return back after 2 years away, or more, almost 4 years, but 2 years in Vietnam with Thai. And she, for me, is one of a big inspiration. She was a peace activist during the Vietnam War. And she was never afraid to go to villages to help rebuild, even though the bombs, the bullets were flying. Her compassion was so strong that she wasn't afraid. And she was also imprisoned because of the movement. And she would share that in that time when she was in prison, she was very afraid of what is going to happen now. And the mind starts to create many stories. And one of the practices that helped ground her was walking meditation. Even in the cell, very small, but she would just walk back and forth and just be aware of each step, to place her anxiety and fear in the step, and then to find the solidity in herself, and just to say, whatever happened will happen. But in this moment, I can take care of my fear, take care of my emotions. And I had the chance to be Thai's personal attendant, his assistant for a long time. And Thai also had moments of tension, moments of also suffering. Sometimes there were things that happened in the community, such as we had a monastery in Vietnam, and after just 4 years, the government shut it down because of the fear of the impact of the community and Thai's reputation, and they couldn't control it. So the best thing they can do is just to shut it down. And we had 400 monastics, and we didn't know what to do with these 400 monastics. And there was a lot of emotions and a lot of tension in the sanghas, in our community here. And as a teacher, he was responsible for 400 of these monks and nuns. And I would feel Thai's worries, and you can feel it because it becomes an energy. And our teacher, every time he would go for long walks, I know he's taking care of his emotions, he's taking care of the situation, of the stories that we are creating in our mind, and then to have clarity, and then to do what needs to be done, and don't let the worry to be the energy for the action. So let the peace, let the clarity, let the mindfulness be the energy for the action. So the walking is a practice that can support us in any moments. We have the practice of noble silence. Normally is after the last activity in our practice on 9:30 is the official time in the monastery. 9:30 is the official noble silence into breakfast tomorrow after you have washed up breakfast. And this noble silence is not a rule or a law that is placed on us and we cannot say anything. But once again, it is an invitation. To rest, we have to also have silence to rest. So to help us ease into the evening and let our bodies be still and to enter into relaxation, to sleep. Having not too much of speaking can support that, because we know the mind can still be active after not talking. So here, when we practice noble silence, it's also learning to allow our mind to ease, to rest. Become aware of our breathing, guide the mind to let the attention of our thoughts have a focal point, and that can be the breath, that can be the body. If you need to speak with our roommates, we can still speak, but speak more gently, becoming aware that others are practicing. So we want to support in the community, in the practice of noble silence. And I think by the end of the retreat, you will enjoy the silence. You will see, wow, it's such a gift that there is silence, and just to bathe in the silence. Listening to Dharma talks is a practice, and our teacher always explained it like this. We come to a retreat not to gain more intellectual knowledge about the Dharma or about the practice, but it is like we all already have the seeds of mindfulness, the seeds of peace, the seeds of happiness, the seeds of stillness in us. But we have to let the rain, the Dharma rain, to just penetrate the field and let it come naturally. So we may come with a notebook, and if there's something that we catch in the Dharma talk that we really like to capture and not forget, just jot a few notes down of what we have heard. But if you can, just come and just listen. Everything is going to be recorded. Nothing will be lost. So we can come back to it later on if needed. And just to listen with open mind. If we come with what is right, what is wrong, then we don't learn anything. We're just going to be judging the whole time. But whatever will touch our heart, touch our consciousness, it will just happen. And here we were going to learn to practice, to feel the practice, feel the energy of mindfulness in us. So coming to the Dharma hall is also learning to be open, learning to be available to just listen without judging, and that is also a deep practice. We're going to have a wonderful workshop by our two sisters called Deep Listening and Loving Speech, and they will speak more about this, but already in the Dharma sharings and in the Dharma talk, we can already practice this openness. I know you all have just arrived from many different countries, and you must be very tired. So I know there's a limit to how much you can intake. There's more I can share, but I think this is enough. And I think that, like I shared, you have arrived, and you're going to learn to be at home. You may not yet arrive yet. You may still need more time to arrive, but allow yourself. In the practice, we have to allow ourselves to practice. We have to allow ourselves to arrive. We have to allow ourselves to get home. And this is a real practice. So when we leave this meditation hall, we can there's still some daylight, so if you need to just digest the walk, digest the talk, it's always nice to go for a walk. That's why our teacher had this insight. In every retreat, after a Dharma talk, he always has walking meditation. So we don't need to discuss more, but we let things digest. If you feel that you want to go for a walk, you can. There's many paths in Upper Hamlet. There's a forest that embraces our monastery. There's an oak forest, and there's a path that goes around. And so you can just be at ease here. And I just wanted to express my gratitude to all of our friends, especially David and our friends in Social for sticking with it, because originally we planned this retreat, and then we had to cancel because of the pandemic and the COVID cases were rising, and we were afraid that it wouldn't have enough conditions. But then when we saw that we can reopen, our organizing team working with Pro-Social said, maybe not a very big retreat, but how about a smaller retreat? And if they were up for it, and they were like, yes, let's do it. And so thank you. We just want to we always say, thank all of the conditions that have come together for us to be here. So thank you, dear friends, for being present. I wish you a wonderful retreat. I wish you a wonderful time with us. Allow yourself to be present. You may see we do bow a lot here. You don't have to bow if it's not comfortable for you, but I just share the meaning of it. It is when we bow, we want to express our presence. So body and mind united. So I am here, I recognize you are there. So I bow to you for who you are, and I offer my true presence to you. We always end with 3 sounds of bell, so let us listen to 3 sounds of bell so we can relax, listen to our breath. which is around.